and run said the ACC and not winning. Minimum said no, Hannah, no with you.
That time being
and I didn't see it. See, after 10 more.
Well, now me share the television, now me will be hotel.
Who shall send a coin?
Well, my problem no ye. Some course na minya about your government sitting a chairman or committee chairman. Me am so many many who. Me dem who say no propose say be a president man propose be a yam money din. But I say kawai committee chairman like I mean a privilege kesi. Nti me who say nya born or born e boa payo. And Afenyo-Markin so no the first time obelidi minority no. One say omuku number ni swa. Nti o person o ye nipa 140 150 job. Nti I mean me kudo say me more about say or ya dear say sebi I mean watch my face. Or yeah, dear say be a name or ye supporters in the about Ghana majority a monitor in any of day. No moment ya dear ye chairman a current government president mama government and papa by committee in Nipo Ponte no. Me giri say onu momu na boapare na yenya bia wabon akonti ma parliament obi wa parliament bia obi asebe mature but I want say boapare momu no ye we di bone.
Me say busa question o hwemu a majority side e bia some person mu vete omu nipa na say omu to nyum o ye good e dan Mahama say obae but o hwe minority na omu to busa question say o state property ana enti say ya mo am busa questions bia say maybe you won't get to know.
Sir, me too say I say ya ma omu kwa kwan a untimi bisa.
Say bia say e bia ya ma minority ne kwan e bia nsem bi ne ntimi nyanses emfi omo. Nti omo na e betimi aden. E busa sansem.
Di na je say ye ne ya ne ame ho kwan na minority bisa na. Ye nkofo no me tietie nyina say ye nkofo eti ho no. Omo wa okwanya se ko mutimi bisa ade e be ma ye supporters ni pa eto aba. Openi listen to me TV3. Ghana majority to aba Emma President Mahama and nipa expectation nipa pe bibie hunu de so atene healed but ni nyina say chairman of committee no wabon and I say boapayo
we dey say I know what in calculate o person
we say apart from say bon nya where the sources am can but I nya say me gina territory me me kura me pe ba bi e ho hye say how dey say nipa boni
for your platform kesianka
o me can o no anka say I want say boapayo no person di majority boni be say ka hwe na what one nim kura che say onye obi person boa president Mahama and no does say boa president Mahama say first 1 month he didn't the first appointee I say committee chairman no so we see I boa pa person good anim ase no e be mana ya hwe no appointee obi akoto ba bia what me consider you papa me say me ka say kura say mo bi din ntia na obi say president Mahama
tu nya ka person nyeden
me de na say nya ade bia na ye de pen na ye
say e bia na ye book but at least do share bia you find na ka onya ka open
ba bia office brama bre ye de me to e be boa me no ka kire me papa president Mahama the chief of staff say
deputy minister.
So
these are the views of Apia Stadium, and it's his views about the chairman of the committee. He thinks the chairman is not really in line or in tandem with the motives of the NDC, and so that's his views about the chairman. And moving forward, we want to get more views from others that have been here to support the minister designate, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, minister designate for foreign affairs. So, Honorable, just a brief one. Good afternoon, good afternoon. You're live on TV3, Honorable. Honorable, you're live on TV3. Yesterday I saw you were fuming. You were fuming. Yesterday.
You shared that image of me with my mouth widely open.
Is it on our station?
On your station. So yes, I agree that I was fuming.
Can you tell us more about yesterday's happening?
First of all, let me thank all media houses for the time that you're giving us and use your platform to render an unqualified apology to the people of Ghana who have entrusted their constituencies in our hands. And on a personal note, to use this opportunity to also thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for the confidence in making me his Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, and to also use your platform to greet the people of Ketu South who have maintained me as the Member of Parliament. And coming back to the floor and what happened yesterday, it is totally embarrassing. We shouldn't have gotten that far. We did. We apologize. Please find it to your hearts to give us a second chance. And may I plead with Ghanaians that you stop lumping all of us together, and the minority this and the majority this. let's start naming each other when we cross the line. Be bold enough to say, Jifa Gomashi, this time round, you cross the line. I think it is when we call people out individually that we will get some sanity back in the house. I think that we've gotten away with too much, and we must have a retrospection, introspection, and chart a new path. The Constitution says that you qualify to be nominated as a Minister of State when you're a member of Parliament. You're vetting your colleague member of Parliament. They've already been given to you as a representative of the people. Why do you want to give them poems to read, prayer to read, and Shakespeare to read? How relevant is that to interviewing them on what they are going to do? And is it a place for settling scores? I think that we've abused the privileges that we have. And we can only ask you to forgive us and help us to do right by the country that we all love. I'm hoping from the bottom of my heart that this will not happen again. We cannot, in one breath, be saying that we demand respect and not respect each other and the institution that we work for. And so yesterday's gone, but the lessons thereof must live with us forever.
I think you've loved everything, you've answered that, but let's move away from that and come to the crux of the matter. Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa will be vetted anytime soon, and I'm sure you're here to support.
I have to come and support Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa because even though he's my younger brother, he's been in Parliament, this is his third time, and there's so much that I've learned from him, and his support for me, support for me in my campaign and all, has been remarkable, and I can only come here and support him.
So thank you so much. Honorable Jifa Gomashi is the Minister Designate, pardon me, is the Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, and so pardon me. And so the Minister Designate Foreign Affairs is just coming out of the chamber where he has been, and he is going to the chamber. He's going to the chamber to meet the committee. So we're trying our best to see if we can also get a shot inside, and so where is he? And so I'm trying to see if I can get my cameraman right here inside. And so the Minister Designate is in the chamber. Vetting will be commencing anytime soon.
Well, George Queenan with that report. As you heard from him, the Minister Designate for Foreign Affairs is already seated, waiting for members of the committee to gather, and then the process can begin. If you just joined us, you missed out on the news conference by the minority caucus in Parliament, particularly those on the Appointments Committee, who have raised a number of issues, talking about the police doing a great job, the majority leader doing a great job. However, the clerk of Parliament needs to be, the clerk of the Appointments Committee needs to be checked. Now, there's a difference in that, not the clerk of Parliament, but the clerk of the Appointments Committee needs to be checked. They said they will do all they can to ensure that that happens. They also spoke with the Majority Chief Whip and talked about how he bullies them. They will not take that from him as well. A number of issues they have raised in that news conference, blaming the other side for what happened. In interviews, we also heard from the Ofuasia Yoruba MP about how thugs mixed up with the MPs, and perhaps those thugs, by inference from what he has said, may be responsible for what has happened. Remember, you're live on TV3. You're also live on 92.7 FM. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll take you live to the vetting of Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongu, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa.
1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage.
Reasons they had given was the importance of the health ministry, and they needed more time to vet the health minister. But that process has already taken place, as we heard from the minority leader earlier. It took them 30 minutes to vet the health minister designate, Kwabena Minta Akando. He's done with the process, and right after him is the man you see on your screen, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the Minister Designate for Foreign Affairs. Well, in a bit, we will learn a bit more about the North Tongu MP, but as you may know, he's also the lead member of Team Oral, the NDC's preparatory team as far as corruption issues are concerned. Remember also that throughout the vetting, oral has been a subject of great importance, particularly to the minority members on that. We expect that today many more questions will be asked about oral, especially when they have, the team lead in front of them. They had raised questions about the legality of the existence of oral, what it's meant to do, and the likes. But listen, how about we go straight there now? The Honourable Member of Parliament and nominee for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is about to take that oath for the questions and the process to begin earnestly. It would seem it would take just a little bit more, but there he is in your shot. The oath is being administered. He is reading out, following the lead. He's following the lead of the clerk who is administering the oath on him. It's been done. Shortly, we should hear some questions take place. Remember, as has been the procedure, the chairman of the committee will begin by asking him to tell the audience there, his audience, by that the members of the committee, a little bit about himself. Right after that, the option will then be given to members on the left to begin asking questions. In a tad, we'll bring you some sound from there. But there he is, the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongu, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, sitting in front of the Appointments Committee as the nominee for Minister of Foreign Affairs for this country, the Republic of Ghana. He will answer a number of questions, I believe, on his, of course, on his ministry. But if what we have seen with Sam Nate George, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, and the nominee for Minister for Communication, if we learned anything from that, we expect this process to also be drawn out. We expect it to include tough questions from the minority, sometimes even personal questions from the minority. But most importantly, we expect to hear questions being asked about oral. All the concerns that the minority side has raised with other nominees on oral, we expect that those questions will also be asked today, and some answers that are much needed will also be given as far as that process is concerned. But there he is, already taking questions from the committee. Remember that he himself, as a former member of the committee in the previous parliament, was very thorough with nominees who had come before the committee. We expect that same will be done for him or to him as he faces the committee today. Some thorough questions, some thorough answers as well, and hopefully no emotions will flare like we saw after the vetting of the Youth and Sports Minister designate Kofi Adams yesterday. We can now take you live there, this time with some sound. Well, if you're listening to us live on radio, it's 392.7 FM. The chairman of the committee, Bernard Ahiafo, has begun asking questions of the nominee. Right behind him is his partner and wife. We also see some family members of the Honourable Member of Parliament also seated right behind him as he takes questions from the committee. Again, like I mentioned, the beginning questions from the committee, as we have seen since the process began, will be questions.
I feel strongly about that because on my way here, I listened to a press conference addressed by the respected minority leader. The press conference was carried live on Joy FM. After that press conference, I have been inundated with calls from the media. I heard myself very clearly he even brought in my beloved, beautiful, diligent, celebrated lawyer wife. She didn't also take it kindly and said that we smuggled ourselves here without invitation, and that is the cause for the chaos. I want to set the record straight, particularly based on that press conference and the subsequent calls from the media. I hold in my hands a formal invitation letter from this committee, signed by the clerk of the Appointments Committee, Mrs. Gifty Jage Goba. And the letter reads, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament, Parliament House, Accra. Dear Sir, invitation to attend upon the Appointments Committee wishes to extend its warmest congratulations to you on your nomination as Minister-designate for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Pursuant to Standing Order 217, I am directed by the Chairman of the Committee to kindly invite you to attend upon the Appointments Committee on Thursday, the 30th of January 2025 at 1 p.m. Thursday, 30th of January 2025 at 1 p.m. Emphasis mine. At Committee Rooms 1 and 2 at the Administration Block, Parliament House, Accra. You are kindly requested to submit copies of your CV, tax clearance certificate, the Ghana Revenue Authority Secretariat, to the Appointments Committee on the second floor. And the letter adds, you are further requested to provide the names of 10 guests who will be present to witness your vetting. Please find attached guidelines for the preparation of your CV. Yours faithfully, Mrs. Gifty Jage Goba. And she did attach the schedule for yesterday. I was to come right after the lunch break at 12:30 p.m. I have a copy here. So for the minority leader to address a press conference a while ago and portray me as some hooligan, some lawless character who will be smuggled into your hearings with my wife, my chiefs, respected ambassadors, Chief Director of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, former Ministers of Foreign Affairs, I take strong exception to that. I thought that the minority leader, at the very least, would have apologized to my revered chiefs who had traveled all the way from the Volta region, including the Tepamahine, traveled all the way from the Ashanti region, where I have been serving as Mbrantia over the last 15 years. So, Chairman, this is a very serious matter. It's a reputational issue. I was not smuggled here. There was no conspiracy. And before the minority leaders press conference, another colleague on the minority side, the Honorable Vincent Kwasipwa, also put out a post on social media accusing me of backdoor tactics and that I'm not going to be vetted. Yesterday, one wonders if this was some preconceived agenda to just cast a slur at my reputation. And Mr. Chairman, I want you to take a decision on this matter because my chiefs are beginning to wonder, did I mislead them? Or did I have an appointment to appear before you? Respected ambassadors are asking me, what happened? Team Oral and others are all asking me, are you sure you had an invitation yesterday after listening to the minority leaders press conference? So, Mr. Chairman, we demand an unqualified apology from the respected minority leader. Yes. My chiefs will not accept this. My guests, whose names I submitted to you on the 27th of January, will not accept this. And it has to be made very clear. I feel very strongly about this matter. Honorable, we are not some idle people who will be smuggled into appointments committee hearings.
Honorable nominee, take it easy. I think as a committee, we've taken some responsibility. That is why, by way of opening remark, I apologize to you and the chief, together with your revered guests. What really happened was that since last week, we programmed the nominees to be vetted for the entire week. As a result of a derogatory statement against me and the members of the committee, we've taken Wednesday to deal with the problem. That has affected our calendar, and same should have been communicated to those who were unable to vet on that Wednesday. I agree to the fact that you are scheduled to be vetted on Wednesday. The letter that you read actually came from the secretary as directed by Bernard Ahiafo, the chair of the committee. So as a matter of fact, you did not smuggle yourself to be vetted yesterday. The letter was not retracted for you to be scheduled. So that was the shortfall. And on behalf of the committee, we render a sincere apology to you and your revered guests. So, honorable nominee, I think the apology from the chair should settle the issue. Thank you very much. Then we then proceed to ask you.
So, Mr. Chairman, how about the press conference? The press conference addressed by the minority.
The media is covering us. And I've stated clearly that the committee takes responsibility. We wrote a letter to you. So if it is Honorable Sami Okudzeto, my good friend, if it were to be fair, I will not be apologizing to you on behalf of the committee. That is why I am pleading to you that accept my apology on behalf of the entire committee. Therefore, this time, if you want to insist on our rights, maybe the whole day. So please, once I have taken the responsibility, and I apologize to you and your revered guests on behalf of the entire committee, whoever whoever is a member of the committee that, based on the unfortunate incident, did a press conference or a statement in the media or a post in the media, I am, on behalf of everybody, apologizing to you. So accept my apology and let this matter be settled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Kindly proceed to tell us about yourself.
I'm grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my name is Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, born on the 11th of August 1980 in Accra. I hail from Afenyo-Markin in the Northern District. By way of basic education, I was in Association International School at Airport, proceeded to the only secondary school in the world, Presbyterian Boys Secondary School. Then proceeded to the University of Ghana, where I read political science, philosophy, and economics. I have a master's in international politics and defense, another master's in communications and PR, an executive certificate in leadership from Harvard Kennedy School. My masters were from the University of London and the University of Leicester. I also have a professional Prince 2 qualification. I am currently serving in my 4th term, representing the chiefs and the good people of North Dome. I have served as ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee for almost 8 years. In the 8th Parliament, I also served as chair of the Assurances Committee. I've held various positions in public service, including Deputy Minister for Information, appointed by His Excellency Professor John Ibansata Mills of blessed memory. May his soul rest in peace. My dearest mentor, who I miss greatly. I was also appointed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I served as Deputy Minister for Education, in charge of tertiary education. I currently chair President Mahama's flagship anti-corruption team, the Operation Recover All Loot team, a position I'm very, very proud of as chair, and I will miss dearly when I hand over in the next few days. Mr. Chairman, kindly permit me to convey sincerest gratitude from the depth of my heart to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for his appointment. I have already assured him that I will give it all and I will make him and the country proud.
Thank you very much.
I'm concluding, Mr. Chairman. If you give me 30 seconds, I must also thank my dear mother, Her Excellency Professor Nana Jenobokwa-Jima, the first female Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. And in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank senior and veteran diplomats and former foreign ministers of our country who have all met me, Dr. Obeda Samoa, Ambassador D.K. Osei, Ambassador Beho, who have all been very, very supportive since my nomination, all the other ambassadors and staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I definitely reserve the best for last, my loving, dear, supportive wife, who has always stood by me. I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Our revered guests, please, you will have to take part in the proceedings in silence. We'll then proceed with the actual vetting, and I will recognize Asafo Ajay start with his question. Honorable Asapoti, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Honorable Minister, I would like to congratulate you once again. I am a Gabon boy, so it serves well to have one of us being here. But Mr. Nobini, I am a bit worried, particularly with the diplomatic pushing of our president when it comes to the Sahel and how it will impact on the image of Ghana as a democratic country.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important question you have asked. And interestingly, ECOWAS will be 50 years this year, and Ghana is likely to host the 50-year celebrations. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama believes that our regional integration agenda should be pursued and should not be abandoned. And so even though our three closest neighbors, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, broke away from ECOWAS, and only this week their breakaway became effective. ECOWAS announced that they have completed the cessation. We need to be conscious of the fact that as closest neighbors, even though we are promoting democracy and we have all said no to coups, we face serious threats. The threat of violent extremism and terrorism. And so, as good neighbors, President Mahama is of the view that he should not give up on dialogue. Article 40 and Article 73 of the 1992 Constitution enjoins the President and all of us who will be working in the foreign service space that our strategic national interest should always be at the center of our foreign policy considerations. If you have your neighbors who are being totally taken over with extremism, terrorism, and indeed, all our neighbors have been attacked except Ghana. And we know that if the situation gets out of hand, the economic crisis also worsens, we will be affected. We are trading partners as well, and we have historic ancestral ties. There are many Ghanaians who trace their roots from Burkina Faso, from Niger, from Mali. So it is very strategic for President Mahama to say that I want to help resolve this Sahelian crisis. And that is why he appointed the respected Venerable Flight Lieutenant Colonel Deblolade, who was an AU envoy on counterterrorism and also has the military clout and very close relations with some of these military leaders. So it is in our strategic national interest, as Article 40 and Article 73 enjoins us, and that is what informs President Mahama's posture when it comes to our three neighbors who have formed AES.
Thank you very much. Yes, we can follow up on that. Minister, don't you think that our colleagues within the ECOWAS will be disappointed on the position the President has taken when they also have a different position?
The indications are that our neighbors are rather impressed with President Mahama's approach. They are really impressed that all of them were at his inauguration. And remember that even before President Mahama's intervention, ECOWAS did not just alienate them. ECOWAS took steps to dialogue, even appointed an envoy to try to talk to them to come back. Because some of the things they want to do, have a new passport, have a new bank, a new trading bloc, it will really undermine our quest for regional integration. And the further bastardization and balkanization of the region is not what will help our collective economic interests, particularly at the time we are talking about the continental free trade arrangement, you know. So I can assure you, my respected colleague, that these are steps in the strategic national interest of our country, and it is very welcoming. And I think that we should, as a House, support President Mahama to achieve his objectives. I think it would be to our collective credit if during our tenure as leaders in Parliament and in the executive, we were able to talk to our good neighbors to come back into the ECOWAS fold. I think that it will really be a good icing on the cake as ECOWAS celebrates 50 years in existence.
The Chairman, I want to ask the nominee again.
That is your second question.
Having attended, worked with AU, attended several meetings, Ghana has always taken a position when it comes to Kosovo and Serbia. When it comes to Sahrawi Republic, we even call them the Western Sahara, and Morocco. And then Palestine and Israel. I mean, the past government had a position. What will be your position vis-a-vis that of the President John Mahama's position when it comes to these countries, and we all know what is to them?
This is a very interesting question on geopolitics and what should be our geopolitical positioning. And I would like to make reference to our foreign policy, which Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah presented to this House on the 16th of December 1959. He talked about Ghana's foreign policy being positively neutral, that we shall not look left or right, we shall look forward. And that is why, after that, he collaborated with his colleagues to establish a non-aligned movement in 1961. So Kwame Nkrumah said that as much as possible, we shall seek to be friends of all and enemies to none. So our posture will remain same. We will seek to be good friends to all of these countries. But being good friends, as Kwame Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, doesn't mean that if along the line there is a misstep, you engage in some violation of international law, you go against the rule-based order, it does not mean that we will not speak out or point it out to you. That is even what shows that we are really good friends. So in these countries you have listed, there are matters that are concerning. For example, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We take the view that the humanitarian crisis there is totally unconscionable and unacceptable. And it is with dismay that we will continue to urge for a resolution of the Middle East crisis. We remain committed to the two-state solution so far as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is concerned. We do not align with hardliners on both sides who say that one state should be totally annihilated, does not deserve to exist. No, we say that let's respect the UN resolution, a two-state solution. On Western Sahara, you may have heard that on the eve of President Akufo-Addo's departure, he instructed that we cut ties with Western Sahara. That certainly has created some anxiety and nervousness, and it marked quite a major departure from our position in the 1960s, 70s, and the 1980s. And you recall that we, in 1982, championed the cause of Western Sahara, which led to Morocco exiting the OAU, as it was known at the time, in 1982. So it was a very significant development, and a lot of our allies on the left are looking at Ghana's new posture. I can assure you that because this is a very sensitive matter, we will be open-minded. We will study exactly what the considerations were, what the experts advised President Akufo-Addo to take such a consequential decision. I mean, when you are in government, you may know things that others will not know. I mean, he received national security briefings, he's at ECOWAS, OAU, AU now, and all of that, UN. So we want to keep an open mind. We will go and study what the considerations were, what analysis went into this decision. But the assurances I can give you, based on our foreign policy, is that we remain friends of all, enemies of none. Even if diplomatic ties may appear strained, as it is now in the Western Sahara question, it does not mean that our good friends in Western Sahara, we are going to disown them or cut ties with them in terms of the real people-to-people, cultural, and, if you like, ideological ties with them. But it's a sensitive matter. We will go and study it, and then we will look at the way forward. I agree with you that they have allies on both sides. Of course, the Algerians are not happy because of this decision. The Moroccans have welcomed it. They are excited about it. But we need to balance forces based on our strategic national interest. And we will look into it and see how best we find a resolution moving forward.
I think I like how you responded, because Ghana has always taken a position, but that's fine. It's, like you mentioned, you will get to find out in the ministry. Mr. Nomini, I also want to know, we have a foreign policy. Everybody knows that, non-aligned and all that. But we have also taken some critical interest in international issues, climate change and all that. What is our country's international environmental policy?
Another very important question, and for our generation, that is perhaps the most significant question. Will the human race survive if global warming, the ongoing climate change disruptions continue, if we do not change our way of life? And that is why the COP meetings have become so crucial. Unfortunately, the big players and the big polluters, we are not seeing consistency. They don't want to come to the table really following the science. There are some countries who are saying that they don't even really believe in the science and that it's probably exaggerated. What I like about the foreign ministry is that we facilitate these engagements amongst key sectors. So on climate change, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology will be the lead ministry. The Lands Ministry will also play a role, and I'm glad that I see the respected former Lands Minister at today's hearings. I know he took part in a lot of the climate change discussions. I followed those meetings keenly. So we will not be the lead ministry when it comes to climate change. It will be the Ministry of Environment, then the Lands Ministry. But we are happy to coordinate, to facilitate the meetings, and to make sure that Ghana is committed to our international obligations. And having said that, let me register our unhappiness at the latest withdrawal by the United States of America from the Paris Climate Accord. That was a very key intervention in the climate change agenda. Ghana played a leading role, I recall, under former President Mahama when he was president at the time. That has clearly created a disruption, but we will continue to urge our big brothers and sisters to come back to the climate change agenda and to commit to a new global order when it comes to climate issues. So that's how I respond.
Thank you. Chairman, last one on this.
Honorable member, you are either asking your last question.
Yes, finished.
You are entitled to one follow-up, which you have asked.
So you either move to your last question. After this, I'll give you no opportunity.
I'm going to my last question. Oh, yes, I'm going to my last question. Yes, no. Mr. Nominee, this, I think it is for the jury out there. There have been a lot of concerns about our female in the Western, the UAE, particularly inhumane treatment, abuses and all that. Even though we admit that it is out of their own private businesses and other things that lands them there, it has some implications on our international image. What is going to be the position of this government on this mass movement to UAE, and then they will come back to us as a whole lot of inhumane abuses and all that? What will be the clear-cut position of this government?
Once again, let me commend you for this well-researched question. And this is a matter that I am very passionate about. One of the priority areas that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has tasked me to work on is how the Foreign Ministry is repositioned to help resolve the unemployment crisis in our country. Unemployment has moved from about 8.6% in 2016 to 14.7% currently, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. We need to make sure that this migration that is going on because of the search for employment benefits our country, it is regulated, and it's a win-win situation. Countries like Cuba, Indonesia, because of their strategic foreign policy, have been able to use their foreign policy. They sign bilateral agreements with other countries. They export labor, so their citizens are well catered for because everything has been signed, it's done legally, so their rights are protected. A portion of revenue goes to the country, and then there's another portion that goes to the workers, particularly the Cuban Medical Brigade, if we are to look at the Cuban model. So under my leadership, I will seek to aggressively pursue economic diplomacy in a way that allows for bilateral agreements to be signed. There are many countries looking for Ghanaian nurses, looking for Ghanaian teachers, looking for Ghanaian professionals, looking for Ghanaian workers in the domestic sector, artisans. Why can't we take advantage of that to solve our unemployment crisis and also to regulate the space so that what is happening in the Gulf to some of our workers, our fellow compatriots, is addressed? When these receiving countries know that the labor they have received is not from some clandestine agency engaged in some, human trafficking operation, they will be mindful in how they treat these workers. So expect that one of our priority areas will be using foreign policy to address unemployment. We can make sure that great trade becomes great gain, where these bilateral agreements will help create jobs for the young people of our country. You go out there to the UK as a nurse, as a doctor, if it's probably for a 5-year period, you get some new skills, you build capacity, you can decide to come back with some good, foreign currency, and the country also benefits. So expect that we will formalize these arrangements and we'll be very deliberate and aggressive about it to create jobs for our young people.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Speaker and the nominee and once again congratulate him for his appointment.
I move to give the floor to Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nominee, congratulations. I'm one of the many Ghanaians who are very happy to see you where you are seated this morning. Nominee, I've worked with you in the 7th Parliament and in the 8th Parliament as my leader on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I appreciate the leadership skills and knowledge that you bring to where you are sitting this morning. When you get to the ministry, what would be some of your priority areas?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Okudzeto, and thank you for the kind words and the tremendous support you gave me for 8 years on the Foreign Affairs Committee as my deputy ranking. I have just talked about one of the priority areas, economic diplomacy, pursuing bilateral agreements to create jobs for the young people of our country in a regulated migration that benefits the individual and the country. The other thing that I want to reform is our passport regime. There are too many complaints about how difficult it is to get passports and to get them in good time. I have been going through some briefs, and I noticed that we have a backlog of over 70,000 passports that have not been collected. Then there are issues with the middlemen, Goro boys, and all of that. I recall the former foreign minister, the Honorable Shela Yokobuchi, storming the passport office in frustration and saying that, look, this crisis cannot continue. I would like to use technology to reform our passport regime. I don't think that we should still be requiring Ghanaians who have a Ghana card to go to passport office for their biometrics. This system of silos.
Honorable nominee, the question was your priority areas. You mentioned economic diplomacy, and you mentioned passport acquisition. If there is any other, mention it to us so that we can make progress.
Well, thank you, Chairman. I thought that you will be interested in the details, how I'm going to implement these reforms. So, just to be brief, I get your cue. I would want to engage the Ministry of Communications. I've already started talks with the Honorable Sam George, so that you don't need to go to a passport application center if you have a Ghana card. We should be able to interface. It should be possible to sit at home, apply for your passport. And then also, I want to end this business of going back to the passport office for your passport. It's so outmoded. We can engage courier services to send your passport to you at home or in the office. So modernizing the whole regime as we move from the current biometric to chip embedded passports will be a matter of importance to me. Then the third one, as I conclude, is a reform of the institution, the Foreign Service. I would like to introduce a department that will focus on delivery, the delivery unit. I want us to give clear KPIs to our ambassadors and our high commissions. Now, where we are in the current global ecosystem, you can't be relying on aid, relying on loans, relying on other countries. Let's aggressively pursue economic diplomacy. When we send you there as an ambassador, it's not just we attending events. You must bring us something home that will impact the lives of the people. How many investors are you bringing in? How many industries? FDI and all of that. So they will be given clear KPIs. Because if you look at last year's budget, we spent more than 875 million Ghana cedis on our foreign service staff alone. That's almost $1 billion. And you ask yourself, these 71 missions out there, what are they bringing in? And that is why many people think foreign affairs is so removed, is so abstract. What do we even get from foreign ministry? We are going to change that perception. Clear KPIs, you must bring something home. If within 1 year we are not seeing benefits, you will be reshuffled so that we'll send in ambassadors who will be more dynamic, who will be proactive in our national interest.
Thank you. Any further question?
Mr. Chair, I think the nominee has done well with my question. I don't have any more questions. I just want to congratulate him. And once again, I want to say I'm very happy to see you where you are. And I want to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for your nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. I proceed to give the floor to Honorable Okudzeto. Honorable, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me begin by congratulating the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa for his nomination to this very high office as, and occupying the shoes of statesmen like Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, Obeda Sanwa, Victor Gbewo, and the rest. Especially at his age, is quite a significant achievement, and warm congratulations, Honorable nominee. Mr. Chairman, Ghana's policy, foreign policy, since 1957 has essentially been non-aligned. And as the nominee himself articulated in one of his responses, if I would say, we neither look left or right, we look forward, and we don't take sides. Indeed, if you look at the NDC manifesto, specifically page 160, you will see that that same policy is articulated. And then President Mahama, in his inaugural address, also reiterates the point. Chairman, I followed the nominee. I read most of his articles, his presentations, news articles about him and all of that. And it is clear on the evidence that the nominee is a leftist. I would say he's a socialist. I will refrain myself from saying that he's a communist. I will refrain myself from saying so. You will see, Mr. Chairman, that the nominee, for example, wrote a tribute to His Excellency John Pombi Makafuli and delivered it on the floor of Parliament when he died on 17th March 2021. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, the nominee's views are known as a radical left. How is he going to marry his obvious personal, ideological leanings and inclinations, which he's on many occasions said he's very proud of, in wiggling his way through this complex international geopolitics of the left and right as it relates to Ghana's policy of non-aligned? Thank you.
This question could have been asked without making reference to all those documents. Please proceed to answer the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me place on record that I am not a communist. Of course, I am left of center. All of us in the NDC subscribe to the left of center political ideology, which we are very, very proud of. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has worn the badge proudly because we believe in the welfare state and we believe in humanity to our economic interventions that don't encourage exploitation, particularly by a few elites. So you are right about where I belong ideologically, left of center, which is where my party, the NDC, belongs. So I am very much at home. Having said that, let us remember Kwame Nkrumah's tact and skillful approach to our foreign policy. Kwame Nkrumah was on the left, but he managed to, at the height of the Cold War, a bipolar era, to still get the Americans to support him in the construction of the Okudzeto Dam, and to still have the Russians to help him in building our atomic agency. So that model is what we must adopt. So our friends know where we belong ideologically, but they respect us and they know that we don't mean harm or we don't bear grudge or have any malice. We are friends of all and enemies to none. So be rest assured that even though I have left leanings, I will be very objective in pursuing our foreign policy, which Article 40 says must be guided by our national interest. Kwame Nkrumah did it, President Mahama has been doing it, receiving support from all sides. And in the current multipolar world, be rest assured that I will attend to this responsibility with all fairness and objectivity. Note from my CV that in the 8th Parliament, I was chair of the Ghana-Cuba Parliamentary Friendship Association, but also very active in our U.S. Ghana Parliamentary Friendship Association. Indeed, a proud member of the American Council of Young Political Leaders. So there are a few of us who struggle and who are liked by all sides because we are very objective in our dealings. So be rest assured I consider myself a good friend of all the forces at play in the global arena.
Chairman, that is reassuring, and I think, Chairman, it's important that we lay the proper foundations before we ask the questions, so that both the nominee and the country.
Please don't litigate with me.
No, I'm not litigating, Chairman. I'm just. So I have a follow-up question. Now, again, Mr. Chairman, the nominee is on record to have, if you want, not so much criticize, but raise substantive and significant issues with Ukraine as opposed to the West in the Ukraine-Russian war. And I have an article here where the nominee indicates that the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has been roundedly condemned by all international organizations, the United Nations, African Union, ECOWAS, and the rest, is as a result of Ukrainian failure of foreign policy. Mr. Chairman, also the nominee is on record to have taken issues with the West in its dealings with Israel as it relates to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the point I seek to make is that the nominee is obviously, in his years of activism, taking sides in these two major international conflicts of the world. If he gets the nod of this committee and parliament, how is he going to navigate his way through this complex issue of Ukraine-Russian war, Palestinian-Israeli war, mindful of its rippling effects in the global geopolitics? How's he going to do that? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and let me commend the Honorable Okudzeto for the well-researched question. The challenge that we all face, I've served on the appointments committee, is that you have to summarize, and so you can't read these articles in full. But those who will want to pay regard to the articles, you see that I try to be very objective and balanced and more nuanced than the summary.
The conclusion, whether you've taken sides. Is he correct?
No, the conclusion is far-fetched. I have not taken sides. And Mr. Chairman, I know you will be happy to hear that I have been invited by both sides. There are probably few people who have achieved that. The Russians invited me, and I was guest in their parliament. There was a second invitation where I went with former President Mahama to launch his book at the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Russian translation. And then the Ukrainians invited me. I spent a week there. We were, touring Kiev and other places. We went to the landmines. I helped them to even demine, some of the Russian mines that had been left in Ukraine. So that should tell you, the countries don't have any issues with me. Israel has invited me on a number of occasions. the Palestinians have also done that. Indeed, the Palestinian ambassador in Ghana is one of my very, very good friends. And so is the Israeli ambassador. So please be rest assured that despite my ideological stance on these matters, you will see objectivity. But Article 40 is clear. We must also, in the pursuit of our foreign policy, be guided by international law, a rule-based order, international principles. So where our friends err, we should be bold to point it out. Because as Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, when he presented our foreign policy to Parliament, he said that we will not be passive spectators, that as good friends, when you err, when you commit genocide, when you commit atrocities against women and children, we will point it out to you. And it does not make us bad friends. It rather, makes us very, very good friends. So that's the position I take on these matters.
Thank you very much. Your last question. Or you have a follow-up on this?
This was a follow-up on the first question.
It cannot be.
No, it was.
It cannot
I
be.
said so. I said so that it was a follow-up.
No. The fact that you said so doesn't mean it should be a follow-up. Please ask a follow-up question whether he is taking sides in these various wars that you have mentioned. Please go ahead with a follow-up question on this.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I asked a question about his leanings on taking sides, and I made a follow-up on the specific issue of whether or not he takes sides. It was all about taking sides. Thank you.
Was how is he going to marry?
No, it was taking sides. And then I gave a specific example whether he takes sides.
This is your last question.
Last question.
If you have a follow-up on this, I will allow it.
This is it. I can give you the documentation I use. No, because it's a follow-up. It was a follow-up on the first question. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, the question I want to ask the nominee, which is the second question, is the nominee, if he's given the nod as foreign minister, as I said initially, it's a very high office. And as he himself has been articulating, it will require, in his words, rules-based, it will require a lot of fairness, objectivity, and all of that. Mr. Chairman, on 23rd December 2024, the nominee made a post where he alleged that unimpeachable evidence from the Lands Commission shows that the two daughters of President Akufo-Addo have acquired some state lands in cantonments, and that amounted to state capture. Mr. Chairman, the company which was the subject matter of this allegation was Sunam Company Limited. Mr. Chairman, a search at the Lands Commission will show that the land in question is the property of administrators of the estate of Justice, the late Justice Johnson Sribo, a former Justice of the Supreme Court and Chairman of the Electoral Commission, who acquired the land as far back as 1969, specifically on 1st June 1969. And indeed, Mr. Chairman, at the time, the President's children were not even born. The subject matter land was acquired by the states, Mr. Chairman, as far back as 1869, and the lease will end in 2069. So clearly, this land is not state land. The President's children did not buy state land. On the evidence, on the record, it is absolutely clear that they did not buy state land. Will the nominee concede, given that he's seeking to be foreign minister and will be required to be fair to all manner of persons, that the President's children were wrongly accused and he will apologize to them? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, your quick answer.
Well, thank you very much for the question. The Honorable Okudzeto will recall that when I put out that article, I supported the article with evidence from the Lands Commission. I attached an official search that I had conducted on those two lands. Indeed, those are lands that you have in Sonam and then a lot boutique, a fashion boutique. And I sought to inquire from the Lands Commission the status, the ownership of the land. And the Lands Commission responded in that official search, which I published. And Ghanaians can go on my social media handles. You'll see the official search results, where the Lands Commission, in their response, indicated that all those lands are government lands. So in my article, I asked a question. Is this another state capture? Is President Akufo-Addo allocating state lands to his daughters? It was a question. Based on empirical evidence, what the Lands Commission had told me in writing as official search results when I put in that official search. So there is really no need to apologize on this matter. We need to probably be discussing reforming the Lands Commission. You were Lands Minister. If you think that the Lands Commission misled me, you need to join us with ideas on how to reform the Lands Commission, get their data to be more accurate, so that when we conduct official search, what they tell us, the reports that they give us, their search certificates, are not misleading. Because all of the facts you put out, I don't know them. In 1979, I wasn't born.
And the question is simple. I mean, I know the chairman is in a hurry to move on with his vetting.
So long as the question relates to the acquisition.
In that protection, Mr. Chairman, you will see that the nominee has, on multiple occasions, asked for, quotes, the state to eschew frivolous foreign travel by government the state to eschew frivolous foreign travel by government